All right, today is Friday, September 11th, 2020. This is Ronnie Kay, and I have Drew Bernstein on the line, and we're going to talk about a very important topic. I'll have Mr. Bernstein introduce it, and just for documentation purposes, we're going to talk about some information, but we are not giving medical advice, just to let you know that. And just to jump right in, Drew, how did you come about this type of information that you're going to share, and why should people listen?
Well, I'm an avid researcher, and since the pandemic has begun, one of the things that I've had more time on my hand to do is to do something that I like to do as a pastime, and that's research supplements, different types of what happens with the supplements once we take them in our body, how it helps us, so on and so forth. One of the things that I came across during this time was I got interested in what supplements will have a positive effect on COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And I won't refer to it as COVID-19. I'm going to refer to it as C19. What we're finding out, and this research can be found all over the internet. All you have to do is look at the research on Google or your favorite search engine, and you'll find that what I'm telling you here can be confirmed and reconfirmed and reconfirmed over the internet by research groups, by some double-blind studies, and by anecdotal information that they're finding out at the hospitals when people are coming in with COVID-19 or C19 type symptoms. So I'll start there.
Okay. Now, is this information for a specific group of people?
I would say that it affects all people, mm-hmm. but two groups in particular. Overall, 42% of the world is suffering from what they term as a vitamin D deficiency. But right. When you actually start breaking down the groups, what they're finding out is about 87% of African Americans are suffering from a vitamin D deficiency. And they're also finding out that 72% of Hispanics are suffering from a vitamin D deficiency. Now, why this is important to know is because when they actually end up looking at the data in these hospitals with the people who are actually having the worst case scenarios with C19, mm-hmm. The people who actually go on and pass away from C19, the vast majority of those people are coming from the African American community and the Hispanic community here in the United States. So okay. you can find, so that's why these two specific groups need to hear this and listen intently.
All right. Well, let's go right in. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and tell us how COVID-19 affects, and talk about, the information that you found on what they can do.
Okay, so the way COVID-19 normally, it's showing itself to take place several different ways. So it can hit several different ways. No two people may have the same type of symptoms. So I need to say that first. But if you are the type of person, which is the vast majority of the people, who are getting symptoms where you're getting shortness of breath and you're finding it hard to breathe, That's what they're finding out now, is that the vast majority of people, especially African Americans and Hispanics, are going through the thing where they feel like they can't breathe, and they feel like they're getting shortness of breath. This is actually taking place because your immune system is creating what is called a cytokine storm. And what that storm is the effect of the immune system noticing that its lungs is being attacked. And so what your immune system then does is it goes in and it begins to attack the virus of C19 that is finding that's attacking your lungs. Well, by doing that, it's going overboard, and it is sending out its best and its brightest firepower to get rid of this this C19 virus. So what's going on is that by that taking place, that attack that the body is just trying to protect itself by sending out, is your immune system sending out its best and its brightest to deal with this C19 attack on your lungs. Well, that actually ends up causing your lungs to become inflamed. So if they were to look at your lungs in a X-ray, they'll notice this white, milky looking thing that would show up on the X-ray of your lungs. What that tells you immediately is that you are now inflamed. That's inflammation that's taking place on your lung, which is causing you to have shortness of breath, and is also causing you, making it very hard for you to breathe. This is how most people end up succumbing from COVID-19. Now, what they found is very interesting, is that the people who are dying from COVID-19 or having the worst case scenarios with the COVID-19 virus, or the C19 virus, they're finding out that these particular people have vitamin D deficiencies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you can notice the correlation, vitamin D deficiencies, worst case scenario, you're going to get the worst of COVID-19 or C19. Vitamin D deficiencies, the vast majority of the people that are ending up in the morgue with vitamin D deficiencies. So if the blacks and Hispanics are leading the charge with the worst case scenarios and death, it's not really hard for you to put two and two together that you need to build up your vitamin D levels in your body.
Okay, so what is the next step?
The next step is, of course, is to always check with your doctor to make sure that especially if you're taking any other supplement or any other medication, to make sure that you can take vitamin D. But in most cases, vitamin D is going to be harmless to take. It's not going to interact hardly with any other medication. But check with your doctor. But you can find vitamin D3 over the counter. Now, the recommended daily allowance of vitamin D3 will probably be like what they would call 500 international units is what they would put on the jar, or 750 international units. And they would say that that's what you should take. But what research has found is that blacks and Hispanics have such low levels of vitamin D in their system, because your body produces vitamin D from the sun, but maybe a person with fair skin, like a white person, they're going to produce about 20,000 international units in about 30 minutes if they actually go out and sit in front of the sun for 30 minutes. But somebody that's African American, but it would end up for them to take to sit in the sun for something like 8 to 10 hours
Oh, my goodness.
In order to produce half that amount.
So what's the recommended amount for D3 for African Americans and Hispanics?
I would say between 5,000 and 10,000 international units a day.
Okay.
And it's just for you to know that vitamin D3 is a fat soluble supplement. And the bigger you are, the more vitamin D you're going to need. So if you are fat or overweight or obese, you have to take more. So if you're a thin person, would probably need to only take 5,000 to 10,000 per day. A person that's overweight, they have found that they may need to be closer to the 20,000 to 30,000 per day, but you would need to get your levels checked at your hospital just to confirm that. But the research is out there, and it would be a good guide for you to follow the research so that you can have a better understanding of what levels to take so that you can actually protect yourself against C-19 or COVID-19.
Okay. Now, I also recall in speaking with you previously, you mentioned vitamin C as well, but would you next be willing to actually inform our listeners how vitamin D operates against C-19?
Yeah, so what they have found is that the way vitamin D goes in is that if vitamin D goes into your body and it will recognize that your immune system is freaking out and over-responding, causing the cytokine storm to take place, which is going to cause all the inflammation because it is noticing this very bad virus that is in your lungs and infiltrating your lungs. So what the vitamin D basically does in a nutshell is calm your immune system down. Basically, it's something like this. Calm down, we got it, we'll deal with the virus. It's basically what the vitamin D is telling your immune system. The immune system calms down. The vitamin D goes in there and actually deals with the virus, and your immune system is properly able to respond in a calm way, opposed to overreacting and causing you to be inflamed, shortness of breath, and hardly can breathe. And then you're actually able to start recovering, and other aspects of your body will kick in. Your immune system will kick in to prevent you from experiencing other aspects of the worst case scenario with COVID-19.
Excellent. Now, as far as that vitamin D3 goes, I went through a breast cancer journey a few years ago, and for me, it was highly recommended that I take vitamin D3, starting with the 5,000 IUs. So I totally understand what you're saying there. What about the vitamin C?
Now, the vitamin C has been studied for different aspects. A lot of this information you can probably go to. You have to be very specific when you research online. You got to you have to type in things like vitamin C effects on COVID-19 or university, and just type in university finds vitamin C effects on COVID-19, and a lot of research will come up. But I'll tell you the skinny based on me talking to 3 doctors from China who has been looking at and studying vitamin C and the effects of vitamin C on with COVID-19. What they have found is if a person gets COVID-19 or is around someone with COVID-19, in a nutshell, if that person is taking something like 8 to 20 grams, that's a lot of vitamin C, 8 to 20 grams of vitamin C per day over a period of a day that they're up and awake. That person, 9 out of 10 times, if they are encountering other folks with COVID-19, they have found that those people will not even get COVID-19. Now that's just what the Chinese doctors actually told me. Now, on the flip side of it, if a person does so happen to get COVID-19, let's say that they ended up in the intensive care. Mm-hmm. If they ended up in the intensive care, and the intensive care unit is giving the people who have COVID-19 vitamin C along with some other therapies, they have found that the people who get the vitamin C, their stay in the ICU while they are awake and well is only something like 2 or 3 days opposed to 8 to 11 days.
All right.
So this will be something to consider, is to start taking vitamin C along with your vitamin D3 in order to protect yourself.
All right. And I do want to interject here for our listeners. Do not stop taking your medication if you're on medication. This is something that you can add to whatever your medication is, you can add to. We're not medical doctors. This is just avid research from what Drew has been researching. He's an avid researcher. And I also want to interject, when you call your doctor, or your nurse, whether you are on medication, you're taking medication or not, the way you want to ask them, because oftentimes our doctors, from what I have found from my own personal experience, they may not be highly knowledgeable about supplements. So what you'll want to say is, hey, I'm thinking about adding vitamin C and vitamin D3 to my supplement regimen. Do you think that would affect any of the medications that I'm taking now? How does that sound to you, Drew?
Yeah, that sounds about right. You want to be able to pose the question not as if you're asking for permission, but as if you're making a statement that you will be doing this, and let them interject how they may want you to take it so that they can tell you how that may interact with your medication that you may or may not be on.
Yes, because if you approach them as, hey, I found this cure, this is not a cure, because they're going to say that's not a cure, so this is not a cure. This is something that has been researched. It has been found to be proven, and we're just educating African Americans and the Hispanic community on highly considering vitamin C and vitamin D3, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so do you have any other words that you would like to share as we conclude this interview? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. The thing that I would like to add to it is these are the things that I have in my kitchen. I have Manuka honey in my kitchen. I use Manuka honey as my sweetener. It's a great antibiotic. So if you do get the sniffles, if you're not feeling well, you make you some hot water, grab some Manuka honey, and grab a squeeze of lemon, and you got you kind of like a really good cocktail to kind of sip on to help you get over any particular cold or flu that you may encounter. Do the research on Manuka honey. You'll find that it's one of the greatest natural antibiotics against major superbugs. The other thing is drink lots of water. Don't hold back on drinking water. Get at least 32 to 50 ounces of water in you a day. Most of us think that we can drink a pop or a soda or coffee and count that as hydrating. Those things can be seen as hydrating you, but it's nothing like actual plain water. Lastly, you want to make sure that you're getting things that helps with inflammation. Your curcumin, turmeric, and ginger. You want to have either some teas or the actual roots. You want to cook with them. Those are the things that I would go and seek after during this time of this pandemic. When you're going shopping, don't forget to grab the lemons. Don't forget to grab a few gallons of water if you're not drinking the water out of your faucet. Don't forget to grab some ginger tea or some turmeric tea. Don't forget to go and check the supplement aisle and get some curcumin, some turmeric, or some ginger. Get those things. Even go as far as you want to get some garlic. You can use the garlic powder. You can use the actually get the real garlic and begin to cook with it. And just continue to be forward in your thinking, knowing that you want to be complete. You want to be able to attack a situation without always thinking that you got to pull out a pill or you got to grab this, or you got to grab that. You can actually cook with the turmeric. You can actually cook with the ginger. You can actually cook with the garlic if you want to, and begin to take those things in. Just be okay with drinking plain old water if you want to, just to hydrate yourself. And so just do those things. That's what I do, and I'm only suggesting the things that I do.
Okay, so that was definitely some bonus information.
Yeah.
And for sure, this overall interview was to disseminate this information about vitamin C and vitamin D3 and the other bonus information that Drew has shared. Those are good things as well. All right. So I thank you for the interview, and I will make sure that we share some of those links for people so that they can begin to do their own research as well.
All right.
All right. Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.